Hey everyone, in this week's show we're focusing on box joints, specifically in the application of making a bunch of drawer boxes and making that as efficient as we can using BenchPilot. Today's show is full of a bunch of fun tips and tricks on how to kind of expedite that whole process, and by the end of it you'll have a whole set of drawers. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello everyone, welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name's Jake. Today I'm rocking it solo, but we're going to be doing some box joints, specifically box joint and drawer box production. We're going to be using BenchPilot, and the whole point today is how can we make the most of our time and really maximize efficiency when making drawer boxes with BenchPilot. It's not our favorite thing to have to do, but hey, if you got a dresser project that you've been kicking down the road, this is hopefully going to help you get up and over the hump to make all those drawer boxes. This is exactly what it did for me. I made a dresser, had to do 6 drawer boxes, and by the end of it, I think I have developed a nice and efficient and accurate and repeatable way to get it done. So, reminder everyone, this is a totally live show, so use that question box below, ask your questions, because at the end of the show, we're going to go through and answer all of the ones and even demonstrate the ones that we can. In addition, about halfway through the show, a poll question is going to pop up. You're going to need to answer that poll question to enter your name into the running for some giveaways at the end of the show as well. All right. Well, while we let a few more people come join us, I'm going to go ahead and just set this thing off. I've already set it up to do a cut, so let's make some sawdust. All right, I wanted to let it get through that first pass. We're taking rather aggressive cuts today with BenchPilot. I'm using, as you can see on the left-hand side, 8mm bit. And we're doing this in 2 passes, 1 depth and 1 finish. Now I'm working with 1/2-inch Baltic birch plywood that you can see is double stacked. We're going to go through the whole setup process to make this operation possible. Also have tips and tricks on how to avoid tear out and make sure that by the end of it your box joints are ready to assemble and ready to go. Moving on to the right side, yes, we're using both the left and right side of workstation today. Again, if the key is efficiency, you might as well use as much space as we can. So on BenchPilot, when we hit that green button, we are just stepping back, letting it do its thing, giving us an opportunity to set up for the next cut, or sand any fuzz down, or even start assembling drawers in between rotations. There's that roughing pass. You can see it's a 0.02 inch offset on that roughing pass. And on to the finish. I find that 0.02 on a roughing versus finish pass usually takes care of any potential tear out that does happen, especially with ply. Plywood likes to separate between those layers right where you enter, or right where you exit the cut, like right here. likes to split apart. But we have a couple tricks to help avoid that. Final corner. All right. There we go. Now this is the second part of my operation, so I'm ready to pop these out, and I have a drawer box cut, all the box joints done. Let's remove this and talk about the setup and how we got to this point. Voila. Now, first things first, you can see I have these pieces here, two pieces double-sided, or 2 pieces of 1/2-inch ply stuck together with double-sided tape, so it creates one kind of cassette, we'll call it. And the same thing for, let's call it the A side and the B side. This way, we're cutting our A side and our B side at the same time. So I can pop this off and come over here and just double check the fit. And that's exactly how I like it. Just a little bit of friction, not too much. With box joints, it's really tempting to get that super nice friction fit like we want on a mortise and tenon or anything like that. But you'll thank yourself if you give yourself just a little bit more when it comes time to actually assemble these things. The application of glue just causes everything to swell just slightly, and assembling box joints when they're too snug can be quite the nightmare. So in origin land, it's no big deal just to add a few extra thou. Today we're working with -0.03 of an offset. Okay, so starting with our stock preparation. So I have all of my A sides and my B sides cut. And I went ahead and I cut my drawer bottom dado on the table saw ahead of time. One thing you want to be mindful of is how you're assembling your box. If you're using the table saw to cut your drawer bottom dado, you're going to have an entry and exit of that saw blade. And we don't want that showing on the side of our nice drawer. We want it showing in the back where no one can see it. So with that in mind, we're going to be conscious of what side is A and what side is B. This is actually one that I built for myself at home. And you can see we use the undermount Blum hardware. So first things first, we want to make sure that these two pieces are cut exactly to the same size, nice and square, because we are going to assemble them with a little double-sided tape so that we don't risk them moving around on us. Now this stuff is strong. It gets even stronger once it's under pressure. So that's why we usually press on things when we don't want it to move anywhere. I'm actually trying to make it less strong, just a little less strong, because when I go to pry these things apart, I want to be kind to myself. So I found just a stick to your t-shirt once is enough. Okay. And now this is probably excessive. I can get away with 2 small pieces or even 1 small piece, but want to make sure that nothing moves around on us. Nice flat surface. Making sure that our edges match up. There we go. Keeping in mind, if we can go to that side camera, that we want our grooves to align facing the same direction. Same thing over here with our A side. Grooves in the same spot. So especially when dealing with plywood and BenchPilot, where we're kind of moving fast, we're trying to get through things, we're trying to also be conscious of tear out. Now you might have seen this MDF strip that's working behind my piece. These are strips that come in the box with Workstation. They're just MDF, and they fill that void in between your material and the workspace, or in the workstation, so that we're cutting into this and not just into air. Backs up on material, helps reduce tear out on the backside. To be honest, usually we don't use them, because if we're cutting tenons or anything like that, tear out's not an issue. But for this operation, because there's a lot of in and out, and we're using plywood, seems like the perfect day to grab one and use it. For the front side, found that a little strip of painter's tape usually does the job. Right across the top where we're cutting our joints. Pressed nice and firm down. Don't even care if it wraps around the edge. It's just that front face. Flip end over end and do the same. Really pressing down firmly on that tape to make sure that it gives as much support as it can. All right, there we go. That is one unit ready. Got my B's, got my A's. Let's go ahead and set it up. For clamping, for this kind of operation, you can use the standard clamps that come with Workstation, the rotating ones. Those are fine. I love using these sliding F-style in combo or instead of, or in addition to the reversible clamps. So I have two reversible clamps down here, two sliding F-style kind of in the middle, staggered. So, and what I like about them is they just stay put, right? The stock clamps that come with the Workstation are great, super versatile, but when you let go of them, they just they flop down. These stay more or less where I need them. Things you need to be conscious of when we're going into production mode. We want our reference edge. In this case, I'm using the bottom of the drawer as my reference side every single time. So that is what's going up against my pins. Firmly up against the pins and the top. Reversible clamp holds it in place. F-style clamp really brings down the pressure. Now, since we're working on the right and left side, we're actually using two separate grids. Not at the same time. We make one and then we make the other. But that means for this side, we need our bottom against those pins. Voila. And there we go. Always be very mindful when you're resetting your support bar. We want to make sure that we're not in risk of cutting into it as BenchPilot comes around the backside of this box joint. So we've gone as far as placing little pieces of blue tape here on the support arms if you need a physical reference, or just remembering, hey, it's going to be about an inch to an inch and a half kind of spacing. Let's bring in origin. And I'm going to start totally fresh to get to where we just were. Which means I'm going to start with the engraving bit chucked up backwards, so that gives us a nice solid 1/4 inch probe. when scanning on BenchPilot, I like to do it clipped in, especially for something that's this close. I can do it while the tool is clipped in the whole time. Boom. There's our two pieces. Now, box joint. Box Joint Basic has been around for some time. It's the on-tool CAD program that generates a box joint file for you without any computer needed. It's been around actually for so long that back when it was created, we could only make one type of grid. Now the software and the tool has evolved over time, so now you can make a grid any way you like. However, box joint is still designed just to be made for the left side of workstation, which is fine. Today I'm going to teach you how to use it on the right side as well. But let's start by making a standard front left grid. Okay, I've dropped my bit down, made sure that it knows that my probe is actually a 1/4 inch. Contact that front edge. 1 and 2. And around the left-hand side, 3. And under Create, we have our box joint basic. There you go. It's already got my information in it from the time before, but the thickness of these two boards pressed together is 0.96. Now I know my actual thickness is 0.48, 1/2 inch plywood, 0.48. So we're going to remember that for the future because it's important. My width is 5.5. I find that 5.5 is kind of the max for your drawer depth for both to fit on here at once comfortably. Maybe a little bit more, but we want to be able to sneak a clamp in between those two, ideally. 11 pins, which I think aesthetically looks nice. It also just happens to line up beautifully with where my dado is. So that dado is completely hidden inside one of the teeth of the box joint, hence not being able to see it. And a standard glue gap, the default is 0.005. I'm always going to leave that. I can come back in and adjust after my first cut using the global offset feature, but leave it at a 5 thou. We're good there. Okay, ready to place this at 0, 0. Beautiful. Next, we need to copy this. Bring it down here into space, place it, and hit swap. Now that's our B side. Let's go ahead and set up to cut. All right. Same deal as before. Grid, new grid, drop it down. This time we are making a front right grid. 2, and along the right-hand side, 3. Come grab this down here by just copying it again and making sure that we are grabbing it from the middle right anchor. Green button to place, and there we go. We can go ahead and get rid of this little placeholder. And now we have our A sides on the left and our B sides on the right. That's it for the origin setup. That's how you use both the right and left side. What's really satisfying about this method is in 2 rotations, you have a box that's done. I find that very satisfying because it allows you to burn through all your drawer boxes within an hour and a half, 6 drawers. That's probably a stretch, actually. But it feels far more efficient. Okay, I'm going to hop down into pilot mode, and one thing we need to adjust is our encoded depth. Now, the way the encoded depth works for box joints is it takes whatever thickness that you enter your material as. In this case, I put 0.96, and it uses that as the depth plus about 0.005 of an inch, so that your pins ever so slightly protrude instead of being subflush when you go to assemble. That's not true. Our material is actually 0.48. So encoded depth 0.48. We're going to add 0.005 of an inch, so 0.485. Done. Same thing over here. Make sure too, when you just click on depth, click on the encoded depth specifically to adjust it. 0.485. Great. Before we let it run off on its own, let's go ahead and put our 8mm bit back in. Always like using the 8mm whenever I can, but for this it's great because it clears out the entire space in one go. And always Z-touch directly off on top of your material. All right, so I've done this a couple times. I have my stack here. On your first pass, you always want to cut everything to a 0-inch offset. That way, you can remove one of your pieces. In this case, I would remove my part B and do a test fit while everything's still clamped up over here. If it's too tight, that's your opportunity to take a little bit of a negative offset off of your A parts, or vice versa. In this case, I've gone through a couple times. I've found out that doing everything with a negative 0.003 of an inch offset gives me the exact fit that I want. So we'll add that on. The last step is to just make sure we're doing this in an appropriate amount of passes. I have my roughing pass here, and we're doing it aggressively, going all the way to the final depth. But my material's up on end. I'm actually turning BenchPilot's speed down, and we're live. So we're trying to be conscious of time. If we were less conscious of time, I might add another depth pass so that it does this in 2 depth passes. But also, the results coming out have been great. The tear out is 0 to very minimal. So I'm going to keep it at this. Let's preview those cuts. That all looks great. Spindle speed 5, 5.5. And let's let it go. So we're running just a little white spot on the speed setting, but it's about a 33, 35 inch per minute auto speed. Not quite, still quick, but not quite full tilt for BenchPilot. And what's also nice about doing the A parts on the left side and the B parts on the right side is that our spoil board is going to line up every single time. If you're using the same spoil board to cut both A and B, you start to lose a lot of the material that's supporting behind your box joint. Now this operation could, especially at a pin size of this size, you could use the 1/4 inch bit. You could even use a 5mm bit. If you start using anything smaller or your pin spacing gets larger, you'll have to switch everything to a pocket so that BenchPilot knows to pocket out that material in between. All right, coming back around for that finish pass. He said this one side of this box is about a 3.5 minute operation. And if we're looking for a little bit more time in between our operations, we can again slow things down a little bit. We can add a second depth pass. Look at that, just missing the dado, just skimming it. And there we go. Beautiful. We're always going to get these little pieces here. Just before you remove everything, bend them in. And they'll pop off. They're basically so thin that they get pushed out of the way on that final finish pass. That's the first part. Before we move on to the second part, let's go ahead and hop into a quick break. Talk about some announcements that are happening. First, let's bring up that poll question. Today's a really important one for me personally because I'm embarking on a new video series, short video series, and I would like to know what are some origin applications or techniques that all of you would be interested in a short, succinct video on that you can reference back to. Could be anything. All right. For announcements today, feels like every session we get to say this, which is really exciting. There's a studio update, and it's something that we've been asking for a while. It's a new template, a bow tie template. So if you've ever tried to make a bow tie, we've just taken that whole process and kind of distilled it down into exactly what you need, and can make some pretty fun shaped bow ties now. Let's go ahead and hop over and I will show you what I'm talking about here. So we got the release notes. It's going to give you everything you need to know. I'm just going to go ahead and make one. So right off the bat, we have our standard bow tie. Good proportions, good size at about 4 inches wide, 2 inches tall. We can select from styles if we want it to be kind of a long radius or your classic. Of course, it's always going to have that baked in corner radius so that it is router friendly. And you can adjust that based on your bit size right here. If we want it to be a little bit more dramatic, we can adjust the center pinch. You can also mess with the side pinch, start making really fun shapes. If you're into the more organic, asymmetrical look, start playing with the skew and find something that feels right for you. Lots of different options. Again, just another tool in the toolbox that is Studio to help you make things that are, from this point, savable. Throw it on plate and take it to your next slab. Cut out the positives on your workstation, with or without BenchPilot. Set it up and cut out a bunch of them. Yeah, thank you to Audrey and team for getting that out so that we could show it off today. Hopefully, if we have a little time at the end, we can cut one live, but I wanted to get these done now. Next up, we have the shop tour for the day. Chris Byrne sent over a shop tour. Really cool space. Compact, but powerful. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Chris. This is my maker studio in the background. It's a 4 meter by 6 meter oak frame building, part block, part oak frame. Built this during gardening leave between jobs about 12 years ago. So a lot of it's such a tiny space. I rely on this external porch to be able to do a lot of the work that I do. Everything about the workshop is focused on optimum use of space. My planer thicknesser stored outside on the porch for easy access with this ramp. We've got my X-Carve CNC and my CMS all tucked away, so every project is a project in itself, setting things up. The workshop itself inside is 2.5 meters by 5 meters approximately. I've got a bench drill press and Festool sustainer storage everywhere, Bamboo Labs for prototyping and jig making and dust extraction connector design. Here's my shaper and workstation, combined with a microscope and polishing. I've got this combined in with a Trotec Speedy 100 as the 60 watt CO2 laser. You can see IKEA method kitchen cabinets used throughout for storage everywhere. It's a 4 meter ceiling height. You can see kind of optimum use. This is my tool cart garage. That's what I call it, where I store the Festool Capex, and that tool cart comes out with folding wings that come up. It's an MFT style worktop. It's 2 meters by 600 millimeters, so it's decent size when opened. Some custom tool racks, tool clamp racks that I designed. I've managed to squeeze in a hammer a bandsaw into the corner, and then I have my hammer F3 spindle molder, again tucked away. Everything to be used everything's on casters and has to be pulled out. Every cupboard is packed full with optimum storage for all bits and pieces. Some custom designed sustainers for my Whitehill cutter blocks for the spindle molder. The bandsaw itself pulls out like everything else and can be moved out of the way. It's to reveal more storage. Again, these are customized IKEA method kitchen cabinets designed to take sustainers too deep on these 45 kilogram full extension drawer slides. So it's a very effective, dense packing. I can get up to 16 CIS5s in this one unit, and further units up above for lighter, less frequently accessed objects. I've got a deal on a bunch of CIS5s that I use for storage of all sorts of bits and pieces. And I think one of the things that I'm quite pleased with is my approach to dust extraction. Made a series of videos on these, so tucked away into the corner cabinet, the CamVac dual motor 2 kilowatt extractor with the Defender dust separator interceptor, batteries charging station. I've standardized on a couple of different battery systems and left it at that, and then up above a HEPA filter exhaust and a noise baffle, combined also with up in the top corner Axminster air filter, and I've got this 20 by 80 aluminium extrusion here that I use as a gantry to mount cameras for as part of the studio when I'm recording. So, and also I can use this other gantry here to attach dust extraction hoses to reach the different parts of the studio. So that's it. It's compact and bijou, as a 1980s real estate person would probably say. Hope you appreciate the effective use of space in the tiniest of workshops.
Over. That is, when the space for making arts and crafts becomes a work of art and craft itself is always a great thing to see. It's well done, incredible space, and it's always inspiring to see what level of organization that we have fallen short of here. But hey, we can get better. Anyways, thanks so much, Chris. Before we get back into it, I also want to remind everyone that our most recent software update for Origin, Napa, encourage you all to upload this or upgrade the software, because it's going to give you a free trial directly on tool to Studio. So reminder, if you haven't opened up your sustainer in a second, pop it open, sync up to your Wi-Fi, and you should have a nice software upgrade for you waiting there. Okay. Let's round this out, finish our second side. Just like cutting box joints any other time, key is making sure that we keep our reference faces the same, so we're flipping end over end. Keeping that same reference edge. End over end. I love this too because the reversible clamp does the initial hold. Then you can bring this, just crank it as hard as you need to. Voila. Back in. Clear that cut history and we're ready to go. Now earlier when I was getting ready for the show, I did have everything turned up as fast as it could possibly go. And the results weren't much different, but again, we want to just minimize the opportunity for tear out wherever we can. That's going to depend heavily on the type of material that you're using. I've noticed that this particular ply really doesn't have a strong bond between that last layer that likes to tear out. Versus I've used some cabinet grade birch and maple veneered multiply that wouldn't have been an issue. So also always keep an ear out for how origin sounds as it's coming through this kind of material, especially when making deeper cuts. We've learned in the past, if we're really trying to push things, you want to make sure that your bit is in good shape and that your collet is in good shape. Use this opportunity to remind everyone that even collets are considered a consumable thing. Over time, they can lose their grip, and you'll start to see pull out, especially if they're over tightened time and time again. We only see it with really old collets, but if you ever notice that you're starting to lose hold of a bit and it's starting to come out just a little bit on you, time to replace that collet. All right. And there we go. Beautiful. Remember these little extra frays we just need to bend in, pop off. Looks like our blue tape did the job just fine. Quite happy with that. And our dado has landed perfectly hidden within one of the teeth. That's what we're looking for. All right. I'm going to pry these apart so we can actually assemble this drawer. And of course, I have a trick for prying it apart too, because that turned out to be quite tricky. It does involve two of my favorite tools. I like to start off with the scraper to kind of sneak in this gap, to then use the, again, extra sharp pry bar, the 90-degree turn, give it a twist, pop that in there, bam, like cracking an oyster. It really does help to stick that double-sided tape to your shirt before you pop it on there. Just take away a little bit of the stickiness. Let's do that again. Sneak. This one's tougher because it's shorter. Sneak that in there. Twist. And crack. Just be careful out there when you're using these, because they are razor sharp right out of the box. Okay, clear a little space for myself. Next thing I need to find out is a good and efficient way to clamp up the glue job for big drawer boxes like this. Every time I feel like clamps never land in the right spot where you want them. That. Perfect. Again, not the type of fit we're looking. I don't want to have to hammer this thing together. Ideally, friction fit, all done by hand. Because once we start applying glue, I'm telling you, it is going to be, can quickly become a nightmare in the middle of a glue up if your box joints are too tight. Slide this in here. And a little bit of malleting is okay. There we go. All our pins, again, slightly that 5/1000th of an inch is what gave us our pins are ever so slightly proud, which is going to be great when we come to actually finish this thing. Those are going to sand down a lot faster than it is to sand that surface down. All right, 1 of 6. Let's keep it going. I'll save you all from watching me assemble 6 different drawer boxes, but I think you get the idea. I hope this encourages you to go forth and start making your own drawer boxes. For me, made drawer boxes a bunch of different ways, or box joints in general, on the table saw, on the router table, and I still find myself coming back to making them origin because of the freedom to change your size and style on a whim. The ability to just enter, hey, my box is 5.5 inches wide, and I want this many pins. It's just done, ready to go. Thank you everyone so much for joining today. Thanks for bearing with me on a solo show. It's always fun. And I look forward to seeing some submissions at sessions@shapertools.com. That's our email. Send in a picture. If you decide to go forth and make a bunch of drawer boxes and apply this, I would love to know. And I'm slowly going through and trying to respond to all those emails in the sessions email. So bear with me. And it's also where we get all of our shop tour submissions. So I have a couple lined up for the next couple of shows. But hey, if you're on the fence, remember that if we do use your shop tour for a show, you get a nice little gift sent your way as a thank you. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. We'll see you in 2 weeks.